It concluded the second International Humanitarian Pledging Conference for Syria that Kuwait hosted for the second time. Kuwait thanked the nations attending the conference for pledging over $2.4 billion for Syrian humanitarian efforts. Some 62 nations took part, along with 14 UN agencies of various relief functions and 4 regional organizations. Hiba Abdurrahman was there with this report.
The closing session of the second International Humanitarian Pledging Conference for Syria concluded with pledging some $2.4 billion in humanitarian aid for victims of the Syrian war. The meeting aimed to raise $6.5 billion to help Syrians affected by nearly 3 years of war, the largest ever funding request for a single crisis.
I think it conveys a very important message. One, the issue of sustainability. The refugee problem is a very complicated problem. Even if we were to achieve a political resolution to the Syrian crisis, which is still far-fetched, but even if we were to achieve that, this crisis will continue, the refugee problem will continue for years. Returning refugees back to Syria will take time. Building the infrastructure in Syria will take time. And the numbers that exist outside of Syria are really very large. So the fact that one country, Kuwait, would host the conference the first year and then again is a message that we need to work together medium and long term. This is not a one event issue. Secondly, Kuwait for the second time in 2 years has announced a substantial contribution. Last year 300 million, this year 500 million more. His Highness the Emir announced that. That creates a momentum for other countries to respond in kind. So I think that's also a very important message. And frankly, thirdly, I'm quite happy to see the energy, the engagement that Kuwait is showing on a number of issues.
Kuwait pledged $500 million, while the EU countries pledged $753 million. The United States promised a supplementary aid package of $380 million, and Saudi Arabia and Qatar pledged $60 million each. The European Union pledged $225 million and Britain $165 million.
That they are organizing this international conference. As a reporter, I asked yesterday Nigel Fisher, one of the head of OCHA, the office of the UN that coordinates all the humanitarian aid and assistance, that Kuwait is becoming an important player in the world as a humanitarian leader, no? Because they are hosting this conference that is a record appeal of $6.5 billion, no? And we hope for the good thing for Syrian people, that they can get all the money they need.
The $1.5 billion promised by the United Nations at a similar meeting last year in Kuwait was used in Syria and surrounding countries to provide food rations, medicine, drinking water and shelters. The closing session of the second International Humanitarian Pledging Conference for Syria came to wrap up all the efforts exerted by the international organizations headed by the United Nations and the contributed countries to help solving the Syrian crisis. From Bayan Palace, this is Hiba Abdurrahman reporting for English News.